Audible to you, all of you? Okay. Uh, Today's our topic is the computational fluid dynamics. I'm Sarvesh Moite from Veermata Jezabai Technological Institute. So what is the computational fluid dynamics? It is the basically combination of three words: computational fluid dynamics. Computational means we approach the numerical methods, like we learn Newton-Raphson methods, then Taylor series. There is uh, Gauss elimination method, etc. Then we deal with the by using those numerical method, we deals with the fluid, and those fluids are governed by some dynamic forces. So those dynamic forces are governed by governing equations. So we are going to use their governing equations to demonstrate the fluids. Um, Definition of computational fluid dynamics. It is the science of determining a numerical solution to the governing equations. So we basically we have some governing equations by fluid flow while advancing the solution to space or time. We integrate those governing equations through the space or time, obtaining a numerical description of the complete flow field of interest. By using that, we get the numerical values. So why the need of the computational fluid dynamics is most important things. So there are the totally three approaches. One is the analytical approaches. We have governing equations and we integrate it and get the exact solutions. That's the way of we solve it. And uh, in that, what we do, we don't know the field and the for doing integration. We don't know which profiles we have to use. So we basically do a simple integration by adding the plus c, and then after that we apply the boundary conditions. Uh, apply the boundary conditions, and after that boundary condition we get the final equation where from that we get the values we wanted, like the temperature, uh, velocity, and all the fluids. Then the problem is the analytical solution is that we sometimes we need extra additional equations to solve that. Also, it is the time consuming. We can solve analytical solutions for the simplest terms, but as the term gets increases, like in competition, as the in fluid domains, there is a convective term, diffusion terms. So it gets time consuming also. It also increases the complexity of the solution. After there is also there is a problem we can do with only the simple geometries. Then there is the after the analytical solution, one can do is the experimental solutions. So basically, in experimental solution, what we are going to do is the prepare some prototypes and models, and directly going to do experimental analysis over that. It is the most reliable method because it gives direct measurement of whatever we require. Also, it gives most realistic. And but the problem with that the experimental solution is that the equipment issues. We need to prepare some equipment, some prototypes. Also, there might be some measurement issues like errors in the errors in the measurement devices, and also it is very expensive. We can't create the prototypes for each and every analysis. To overcome those drawbacks by the analytical and experimental solutions, one the numerical approach is the given. In this, we use the computer to solve the governing equations, and here we get the values. Means number crunching means we get the temperature, values of the temperature, values of the velocity, or values of the any variable we want to calculate. It also can handle the complicated geometries, and the investment cost. The initial investment cost is really high. Is high because of the software packages, but as we use it can be as compared to the experimental analysis, the cost is very less. So what we are doing in the computational fluid dynamics is that we are going to solve governing equations. We're going to integrate it by assuming some profiles. Computational fluid dynamics doesn't give any exact solution. It is gives approximate values which are near the x. So which are the governing equations basically? So if we take the cube, which we can control volume having the length ds, dy, and dz. So first we can get the continuity equations. Then we can find out the x momentum equation, then energy equation. These are the three basic governing equations in the computational fluid dynamics. There are y momentum equation also and z momentum equation also. And those momentum equations are the Navier-Stokes equations. Don't get scared about by seeing those equations. It is basically done by the conservation principles. Like continuity equations talks about mass conservations, mass entering in the control volume from the x directions, minus mass entering in the control volume, mass going out of the control volume is equal to the mass remaining in the control volume. By doing that simple mathematics, those equations are formed. X momentum equation is the momentum conservation equation. Here we are getting the we are here we are here getting values for the forces. For example, we here we add the pressure forces, then we add the shear stress forces, forces due to shear stress, and then some source forces like the gravitational forces, etc. And we equate those things with the momentum. And energy equations are deals with the kinematic energy and the work done, and the I is the and we get the in terms of the internal energy equations. So there are some other governing equations which talk about the state of the equations like PV equals to nRT. We again when we turns to the right side, it gets P equals to rho. There are another governing equation also which describe the magnetic fields, then the chemical reactions. We solve we can display this governing equation in general equations, that is called as general transport equations. Uh, by putting the values, we get the governing equation. Like for continuity equation, we put phi equals to 1, so we get the continuity equations. Then for a momentum equation, phi equals to u, where generally phi is the variable which we want to calculate. It can be temperature, it can be mass, it can be velocity. If we see that not the there is a absence of the pressure, talk about this later. So in the general transport equation, the first equation we are seeing is the daba by dt, which is which talks about the rate of the increase of the phi of the fluid element. So it is defined. It is describes the unsteady nature of the equations. Then there is a divergence of rho v phi. Divergence means we know daba by daba of x of I plus daba by daba y j plus daba by daba k, and v is the velocity flow ui plus vj plus wk. So divergence of Rho phi is defined is described the convective term of the flow, convective term of the governing equation. So it is a net rate of flow of phi out of the fluid element. Then the divergence of the gamma grad phi. Here gamma is the dissipation constant. It can be anything according to the governing equation we are going to choose. Like in the temperature, if the phi is the temperature, then gamma will be the thermal conductivity K. If the phi is the velocity, gamma will be the mu. Then there is the source term s phi. So basically, in general transport equation, the delta p by delta x is included in the source term, rate of increase of the phi due to the sources. Sources can be anything, like the internal energy for the temperature, like the gravitational forces, etc. So methodology, what methods we are going to follow? We are going to follow in the computational fluid dynamics. So basically, it is the software process, and there are the three steps: pre-processors. What computational fluid dynamics deals is with the solver. To go to the solver, we need to pre-process the elements. So in the pre-process, geometry generations, geometry cleaning, and the meshing. Geometry generation can be done in the CAD softwares like CATIA, SolidWorks, Unigraphics, NXCAD, etc. Then geometry cleanings means which kind, whatever which flow domain we need to define in the for the solver. Then the meshing. So what we do in the computational fluid dynamics is that the whatever flow domain we choose, we discretize it. Means we we distribute it in the small elements. It's called as the cells, or we can call it the control value. So process of doing that is the meshing. Then we go to the solver, where we apply the problem specifications, then the additional models like energy model, then the laminar models, etc. And then we do the numerical computations. Then there is a post processor. A post processor is generally mean the whatever result we want to get, like those can be the line or control data, then the average values. Also, some report generations can be done. So as I said before, computational fluid dynamics deals with the learning computational fluid dynamics with the learning solver, how solver works, which models we need to use to get the post processing values. Then so there are three we can go for the computational fluid dynamics. One is the finite difference method. It is the oldest methods before the finite element methods. Another method we are going to see is the so what we do in these three methods, finite difference method, volume methods, what we do is first we whatever the flow domain is, we discretize this. Means we convert them into the small control values. Solve every governing equation for the each control values and then get the temperature for the each control values. So by that we get the temperature profiles. In the finite temperature method, at each grid points, the original differential equation are replaced by the finite differential approximation. As we see in the governing equation, we saw the terms like dabba by dabba x. Also, there can be terms like dabba squared 5 by dabba x squared. So those are the governing equations are in the basically form of the in the partial differential equations. And in the finite difference method, we use the truncated Taylor series expansions. So means we know the Taylor series. Any functions is defined in the form of the differential equations, and we neglect the higher order. So by doing that, we get the dabba u by dabba x, dabba square u by dabba x square, and we put those values directly into equations, and we generate the system of equations and we solve it. Then the finite element method, we know that we apply the approximation method, approximation function as known as the interpolation polynomials. We multiply it, then we do piecewise approximate function for phi, and we integrate it in this control value. Then we solve that matrix, and because of the approximate functions, we get some errors, and our main aim is to reduce that error. So that's where finite element works. Then the finite volume methods. This is the most important methods for the computational fluid dynamics. We can solve computational fluid dynamics by any three methods, but the finite volume method works into the conservation principles of the governing equations. Means whatever the governing equation we saw, those equations get. Finite element method is the very general method, but it has the high complexity. Also, the big problems flow gain different with the finite element method. So most of the softwares use finite value methods nowadays. Also, uh, also finite value methods is easy to understand, and very and the set of equations can be get very easily. So what we do in the finite value method, so there is our domain, whatever is the flow domain we want to calculate. Then we uh, we we distribute those domains into number of control values. We divide those domains. So here I divided those these our flow domains into 4 control values, and then we differentiate our differential equation, which are governing equations. We integrated in the each domain. So we get the point 0.1, point 0.2, point 0.3, point 0.4, or any variable. So by that we get the temperature distribution or velocity distribution. But for doing the integration, most important thing is that we need to select the profile. So there are three types of profiles we can choose. One is the piecewise, one is the constant profile, another is linear profile, and then next is the polynomial profile. best thing is that we can apply any profile in any domain. Like for the first control value, we can use the constant profile. Then for another control value, you can use the linear profile. The most basic profile is the constant profile and linear profile, and also we apply those profiles in each control value in the pieces. So that's why called is a piecewise constant profile. So we integrate. So we use two profiles basically: piecewise constant profile and piecewise linear profile. As we reduce the control values, we can get the very accurate results. So no need to use the piecewise. But the piecewise constant profile has the one limitation. We will see it later. That's why that's for the sum governing for some terms of the governing equation, we are going to use piecewise linear profile. Then by applying those integrations, we get the set of the equations, set of the algebraic equations, and we basically solve the set of algebraic equations, and we get the whatever variable we need to require. So here is the general transport equation, and we are going to see one problem related to the volume method. Uh, the problem we are going to see is the steady. So dabba by dabba t is term is going to is van- then it is problem of the conduction. So is a term of the convection is going to get vanish, and it is a one dimensional. So dabba y by dabba z also going to get vanish. So it is the one dimensional conduction problems with steady state. Our problem statement where the k is the 0. Has the internal energy generation which is a 1000 kilowatt per meter cube. Then we have the boundary conditions which are the T100 Kelvin. So our governing equations we know divergence of gamma grad phi plus S phi, and which we are going equals to 0. That governing equations we are going to integrate in that control each control column, and we are going to get the system of. So how we are going to integrate? So first, let's take the one control value as you. Let's take the node point of that control value is the P. It has the east side, it has the west side. Then the east side node capital E. Then there is a W, capital W. Uh, this and the size of the control value is the delta X. One node point to the another boundary is the delta XW and the delta XE. So it is a thermal conductivity problem. So gamma will be our K. Then the one dimensional, therefore it is a dabba by dabba x, and it is a dabba t by dabba x plus is equals to 0. That is our governing equation, and we are going to in from west to east. So it is a so that's how we are going to. So problem about the piecewise constant. I told you before piecewise constant profile has one limitation. Uh, the first term in the governing equation, when we integrate it d by dx, k dt by dx of dx. When we integrate it, we get the k dt by dx, means it is a gradient. And if we see the piecewise constant profile, at the end of the piecewise constant profile, of the variables. So there is a no gradient present. That's why for those such terms, we use the piecewise linear profile. So we get the gradients at the end of at the boundary at the boundary of the control values. So after the integration, we simply get the k dt by dx of east minus k dt by dx of the west minus s delta x. We put the we put the value for the east, which will be the K, means thermal conductivity of the east side of the point P. dt by dx will be like dt by dx then same as the kw tp by tw delta xw plus x delta x. Remember the capital and the small letters. Small letters denotes the boundary values, and the capital letters are denotes the node values. When we gather all the terms, TP is term one side and all remaining terms in the another side, we get the general equation APTP equals to AW plus AE plus B, where AW equals to V, get KW delta X, same AE, then AP equals to AW plus AE, B equals to X delta X. So we get those values. For different problems, we get the different values of the AW. Like for the fin problem, we get different value. Um, then the we by when we get this equation APTP equals to AWTW plus AET plus B, we need to satisfy four conditions. Those conditions are given by the pattern SV Patternker. So first is the consistency. Whatever the flux, like the heat flux is going through, or whatever the value at the boundary condition of the one control value should be equal to the that boundary condition of the another control values. For example, if heat flux is going through the from each side of the boundaries, each side of the control value, boundary side of the control value, that amount of heat flux should be entered in the next control values, which has node of the capital E. Then another criteria is the positive coefficients. So AWAE should have the positive value, unless and uh, without that we are not getting into the unrealistic solutions. Then the negative term for the variable source terms. Here we see the source terms as the constant source terms. Like source is the constant throughout the our element. But sometimes what happens, source terms can be dependent on the temperature also, like S equals to SC plus SPTP. So source terms is basically combination of constant source terms and variable source terms, which is dependent on the temperature. So when we apply that kind of source terms in the above governing above the equation, so we get AP equals to AW plus AE minus SP delta X, and B we get the it should be SC delta X. Then as we see AP equals, as we see in the equation of the AP, there is a negative term SP delta X. So if the value of the XP get increases, the AP might be go to the negative, and that might lead us to the unrealistic solutions. So to avoid that, SP always should be the negative. So for negative will become the positive, and we will get AP positive value, and that will lead to the realistic solution. Also, one common sense we can see is that the S equals to SC plus SPTP. If the SP is the positive, because of the SP, TP will also increases. As the TP get increases, the source term, the heat generations, yes, also get increases. Then it is also positive value, then SP also get increases. So it infinitely get increases, and which is not happening in the realistic solutions. Another fourth criteria is the sum of the neighbor coefficients. As we see as the AP equals to AW plus AE. So AP must be equals to the summation of AWA must include in the AP. Another terms can be added in the systems, but AP must always greater than all the values of the AWAE minus SP delta X, or whatever terms we are getting in those equations. So by doing so in the so we have T1 equals to 100, then APTP equals to AWTW plus AT plus B delta X. By putting the value of AW, uh, we see here in the equations AE, we get those system of equations for the second point, third point, fourth point, equals to 200, which is the boundary conditions. We can write this system of equations in the set of the matrix. Here we get the tri-diagonal matrix. So those variable terms like T1, T3, T2, move to the left hand side, and we form the matrix. That matrix is a tri-diagonal matrix, and the solving this tri-diagonal matrix is very easy. Like we can do Gauss elimination methods, like we can multiply by 150 in the first row, and we can do subtraction by the second row, and we can convert this triangular matrix, and by the direct value of the T1, T2, T3, T4. But for the computer programs or the software, we cannot define the such matrix method, because computers know only addition, subtraction, division, multiplication, and some logic manipulations. So we need to develop some general equations to solve those matrices. Those equations are here. So basically, what's happening here? Uh, Same as the Gauss elimination methods, we divide the second row of some factors. So we do cross multiplication, and when we delete all the B2, B3, B4 terms. So by that we get the general form. Here the di dash is the new diagonal we are getting by the all the subtractions. Uh, it has is formula. Then the because of that manipulation we get the changes in the Ci dash, and after that matrix manipulations we get the direct value of the last temperature like U5 or T5 by the Cn dash by Dn dash, and by going the backward formula, then we by going the backward method we get the UI, means by that we will get the U4, U3, U2, U1. So basically what software engineer do, he puts those general equations and by that he find out the new diagonal elements, new constant elements, and by that he uses the you find out the variable terms. So here is the new values we are getting. We have d, by that we calculate d dash, the direct formula. Then we have a, then I have c, we calculate c dash, and c, which is the variable dependent forms we can calculate. So here is the graph we are getting. Since it is the internal heat generation, so we get the maximum temperature at somewhere in the middle of the element. Uh, Basically, in this computational fluid dynamics, most important thing to know is that the basic fundamentals of the heat transfer, thermodynamics, fluid flow. Because software will do some calculations and he will give us result. But those contours, those good-looking graphs, we need to understand those graphs and we need to find out a conclusion. That's the task of the main CFRE engineer. So we need to find out where the wall shear stresses increases, where the screen friction coefficient values, and we should know how to find that. So I talk about the one-dimensional steady state problem, but there can be unsteady problem. Uh, let's take the previous example with the unsteady. So it increases the one another term rho c by dt. So we simply integrate that the dt by dt. Here two here we need to integrate twice, means we integrate for the east to west distance, and also we need to integrate t to t plus dt. Here I'm not talking about the east to west. Just understand the terms we are integrating to t plus dt. So it is the general piecewise constant profile is using. So t to t plus t dt equals we getting t dt, but we are applying some weightage like t new equals is the temperature at the t, and the t new is the temperature as a t plus dt, and t old is the temperature of the t. So we apply some weightage function as called as f for the t new and 1 minus f for the t old. And by the value of the weightage functions, there is a three methods. By that we can calculate the temperature we can calculate the unsteady problem. So if the weightage function f equals to 0, so all the weightage is given to the t old. Whatever the integration value is going to get is a t old dt. Because of the t old, the advantage we are getting here main advantage we are getting here is that we always know the t old values. So by that so all the matrix values we know, and by that we simply going to calculate the temperatures values, t new values, and the t new values will become the t old for the next time step. Then there is a Crank-Nicolson method in which we apply the half weightage to the t new and half weightage to the t old. Here we are getting both the terms t new and t old, but we know t old values, so we need to calculate t new value. But those values we don't know. So those things those set of equations will convert it into tri-diagonal matrix, and we going to solve it as always as it is. Then there is the implicit method in which f equals to 1. So all the unstable value is going to the t new value. So all the values in the set of equations are generally related to the t new value. And because of that, we need to use tri-diagonal matrix. So tridiagonal matrix which are seen before. So we need to calculate those by matrix method, and we will get the TD value. If, those three methods have their advantage and also disadvantage. Like explicit methods are easy to solve, also take very less time. But explicit methods and Crank-Nicolson methods also has the disadvantage of the instability. It in those two methods, there is one negative terms appear after we do complete integration, and because of that, it becomes unstable for some conditions. Implicit methods is always stable. Any conditions it is going to happen. So also there is a 2D problem. Also we discuss about the only one dimensional problems, but one dimensional is very rarely used. So whatever CFD simulation into two, it is the simple as it was the one dimensional. Two new terms get added at the north side and the south side. The APTP equals to AWTW plus AET plus ASTS plus ANTN plus B. So AW has the similar value like KW upon delta XW, which is also it is going to multiply by delta Y. And the same method we are going to solve. But here we can see in one equations we are getting TP, TW, TE, TS, TS. In the one dimensional there was a three terms. Here we are getting the five terms. So in the two dimensional we getting the pentadiagonal matrix. We can solve this same as the Gauss eliminations method, but the most appropriate way we can solve it by the iteration methods. So we can assume TW, TE, TS, TN, and we can give initial guess and find the TP. And by conducting multiple iterations until we get the residual zero, we find out we do calculation and find the temperatures. Also, another method we can do is that the convert this pentadiagonal matrix in the tridiagonal matrix. Like AWTW terms and AETE terms can be moved to the left hand side, and we can just give initial guess or just assume TS and TN, and by that we can calculate. Then we comes to the 3D. Here another two terms get added, which are ABTB and ATTT. B means backward side and T means the top side. So it is as here we gain heptagonal matrix. So basically what happens in the CFD softwares, all the softwares works in the iterations methods. The iterations methods. So we need to give initial guesses, and by that the initial guesses it calculates the governing equations completely and gives the final solutions. Then we talk about the conductions and the source term, but we neglect the convection terms, which is the divergence of the rho v pi. It is same as the conduction equation. We get this term divergence rho v pi and integrate it over the control values from the west to east. And after the integrations, we can write as it is rho u phi. It is a one dimensional and phi is the variable. It can be temperature or etc. So rho u phi east minus rho u phi west. So that the rho u pi at the east side value, how we define on which the different schemes are created. Like in the central differencing scheme, rho u pi at the east equals to rho u pi at the capital E node plus rho u pi at the capital P node divided by 2. So by that, same as the same for the rho u w, it is the uh, it is the it is rho u capital P rho u phi capital P plus rho u pi capital W divided by 2. So by that the central differencing scheme is created. Then the appoint scheme is C, which from which direction current is flowing. Like if the current is uh, if the flow is flowing from the left to right side, then the rho u phi is directly equals to the rho u phi p, because it will not depend on the because the value of the rho u phi e will not be not be depend on the value of the rho u pi at the capital E. So it will directly depend on the uh, from from which direction current is flowing. From another, there is exponential scheme. Exponential scheme is used for the 1D problems. We can get the direct exact solutions, and we can converted it into the exponential form. It is not, this scheme is not usable because of the exponential functions increases the calculations and the capacity storage. Because of that, problems, that exponential scheme is converted into the hybrid scheme. Basically, hybrid scheme is the addition of the central differencing scheme and the appoint scheme with some certain criteria. Then there is the second order appoint scheme and the quick scheme. Second order appoint, in the second order appoint scheme, what we do is that the rho pi at the east, let's consider the current is flowing from the left to right. So rho pi at the east will be depend on the rho pi of the capital P and the rho pi capital W. So some mathematical formulations, the second order appoint scheme is developed, and there is a quick scheme in which we get the three nodal points to calculate the rho pi E and rho pi W. So by that, each scheme has its own advantage and disadvantage. Like central differencing scheme has disadvantage disadvantage of getting value of the rho pi E. So sometimes in the current, the value of the rho pi E is not necessary. So it increases the calculation process. And also there is many more disadvantages. So here are the softwares which are used in the computational fluid dynamics. Major giant softwares are the then the OpenFOAM, then the Siemens Star CCM Plus, and the um, all the softwares works in the finite value methods, except the console multipages which works in the finite elements methods. There are, every software has its advantage, like the OpenFOAM. There is like OpenFOAM is the mostly used, but it has a disadvantage in the meshing. So also Star CCM Plus gives the very good advantage in the adaptive meshings. There are also SolidWorks also gives the analysis, and also SimScale is making the major marks nowadays. We are, for the software, for today's webinar, we are going to see how ANSYS Fluent is work. So here is the general display for the ANSYS Fluent. It is the ANSYS workbench, not Ethereal. Okay. So it provides three kinds of the analysis flow, three kinds of the models: fluid flow in CFX, fluid flow in the Fluent, and IC engine Fluent. IC engine Fluent is the dedicated to the IC engine. Means, it is already have some functions like IC engine. We don't need to define it generally. Then the fluid flow, what? So here are two major: fluid flow in the CFX and fluid flow in the Fluent. So what is the difference between the those? So CFX works in the vertices centered basis, means the in which the control volumes created around the vertices. Vertices mean the if we divide the geometry in the machines, so it has the points. So every control volume has the points, means the rectangle has the four vertices. So at each vertices, control volume is developed. In the Fluent, the it is the cell-centered approach. It uses the cell-centered approach in whatever we are seeing till it is the sales, and it is uses the cell-centered approach, means the capital P, capital E, capital W is all is itself in the cell. So whatever control volume is defined is already the cell. So so what is the advantage of this thing is that the CFX requires the low storage capacity as compared to the Fluent. So we can solve very so it requires low, because of the low storage capacity, we can get solutions very easily and very fast. But the analysis by the Fluent gives the better resolutions and the very accurate results. Also, as I found that the CFX is not that much developed as the Fluent. Like we can do polyhedral mesh in the CFX. Also, there is another one problem is that uh, in the CFX, we can't do the two-dimensional analysis. It creates this. We actually can do two-dimensional analysis, but it creates the pseudo 2D, which is basically the three-dimensional objects which have, for example, we are we want to do three-dimensional analysis of the plate, two-dimensional analysis of the plate. So it will be the easy rectangle, but in the CFX, it will be the plate having the very less thickness. When we double click in the ANSYS Fluent, we get this window. So here we see geometry, mesh, solution, and the result, where geometry and mesh are the solver, and the solutions and the result are the part of the post processing. Actually, setup and the solutions are the main part of the Fluent. Geometry, mesh, and the results was added by the ANSYS. Then here is the proper, we get the property in Windows where we can change the analysis type. Also, we can do some additional settings here. So our main problem, so let's take the one problem. We need to we want to simulations having the 5 internal diameter and the 7 external diameter. So when we ask about some uh, CAD modeler, so he will give some kind of 5. But our analysis is not related to the this analysis. So this geometry is not useful. So what which geometry is useful is the internal diameter. So for the analysis purpose, we can we can we need to define the flow domain first. Which flow domain is the most important? Also, as a CFP engineer, you need to consider two most important factors: time, two most important factors, the complexity and the, which defines the time. Some CFP simulations requires the months and the weeks of the months and the weeks for the some CFP simulations requires months and the weeks to solve. So if the complex geometry is happening there, we can't get we can't we need to consider how to optimize the time required to time going to required for the simulations. We knew for the three-dimensional, it is going to get time required for the machines, and then because of the it is three-dimensional, solver going to solve for the each control balance in three-dimensional. So so what we need to, so one must understand what he want to calculate. For example, for this pipe, we just want to know what is the temperature profiles and what is the wall friction wall stress is going to apply. So by that, we can convert this geometry in just two-dimensional. It is just a rectangle. It has the inlet at the left side, outlet at the right side, and the two lengths which defines the wall. Also, we know the velocity, we know the in the pipe flow, velocity profile is the symmetry. So one not need to understand, one not need to draw a complete rectangle. One need not to draw a rectangle in the size of the diameter. We can make the half of the rectangle, half of the rectangle. So it reduces the time required for the solutions. Also, we get the we get the easily results. So one must to understand which flow domain we are going to work. There are two types of flow domains actually. One is the inlet flow domain, and outlet flow domain. In the inlet flow domains, as we saw is the pipe flow. There will be the boundary and the one inflow and then the outflow. The outlet, the outlet flow or outflow is the most important to understand. Here's a solid object, and we want to calculate the how velocity going to interact with this solid object. So we need to create the flow domains around the solid objects. You are see this the big rectangle. That's our actually the flow domain, not the solid objects. Also, we need to understand this that that's all that the boundary of that flow domain should not affect the velocity profile at the velocity profiles we are getting at the solid objects or the any variable properties we are getting at the solid object. So whatever the flow domain should be should be very large. So it should not affect the solid results at the solid objects. So basically it should be the 40 to 50 times uh, to the basic geometry of the solid object. Um, Geometry gives two types of options to develop the models. One is the space claim, and another is the design modular. Space claim mostly used for the 3D purpose, and it has some handy operations, kind of easy to design modular, or we can compare it another geometry, another CAD model software like CATIA. It is not that much sophisticated like CATIA, but the space claim gives some very handy operations. But here we are, our geometry is very simple, so we are going to make it work in the design modeler. So in the design modeler, we can see there are the taskbars, there are the options like a file, create, concept to unit file. In the file, the general options like save, open, import geometry, etc. In the create operations, we can get some operations. We can get some operations like Boolean operations, etc. In the concept operations, we apply surfaces for the geometry. The flow domains, so, as if you see here, if you see here, 2D geometry I selected is just 4 lines of the rectangle, but it is empty inside. So we need to apply some surface for this part. So this kind of thing we can do in the concept. Then there is a tools, we get different tools like extrude, revolve, sweep. Then there is units, we can change the units whatever we require. There is a view, so we get different kind of views. That thing also can be done in the mouse itself. So in the if when we select in the there are also three outline. Three outline is the basic flow of the process. So how so I choose the XY plane and draw that the rectangle. Then apply by when we select the sketching, then we get the different operations like for the options like options for the drawing the geometries like a rectangle, circle, ellipse, or we get some model operations like chamfer, etc. So I draw some rectangles, apply surfaces. Then below the preview, there is a details view. In the details view, whatever options we are selected, we get the property window of that options. Like if we choose the if we choose the camp, if we choose the length, then to define the length, to value of the length, we can insert into that property window. So that's the general look of the design modeler. Here also we get the operations like pan, zoom in, zoom out, and this fit to the screens. And by it can be done in the mouse itself. So that's the basic overview in the design modeler. One must to understand is that these design modeler and the space claims are provided to the provided for the surface cleanings. We can't do some complex geometries in the design model space. It should be done in the softwares which are dedicated for that, like SolidWorks or CATIA. But when we import those geometries into the ANSYS by the file format like IGS, etc. So what happens? Some geometry or some part of the geometry get distorted. To make it clear or and make it as it is, the design modular is the provided in the ANSYS or the space claim we can see. Um, then after the geometry, after the geometry is completed, we just simply close that window. Uh, we comes with the double click, we comes to the meshing part. So here is the meshing options we are getting. There are the methods, which kind of meshing we want to use, like trigonal meshings or rectangle, polyhedral meshings, etc. Most important, I'm telling most important, most general and most important options. In the sizing, we can apply the dimensions for the meshings, like how much, like if we choose the one length, so how much part can we can convert it, for how much part we can divide it for the machines, or we can choose the basic dimensions for the machines. Also, there is the options like face machines, where we choose, where we directly give the automate. It is automated face machines. So when we apply, we get automatically machines generated by the ANSYS. So uh, here I am doing the sizing. So I choose two longer which are going to be wall for the our geometry. And we I converted those lanes in the number of divisions. I give the 1,000 number of divisions. Uh, then after that after that we sizing for the inlet and outlet. So I give the 10 divisions by clicking another sizing option. And here we are getting the meshing. It is the structural machines. It is okay to get unstructural machines, but our geometry is just so simple. So we are getting directly the we get the unstructural meshings. So in the meshings, basically what we can see is that the rectangle meshings gives a but at the swirling flow, like the flow in the any directions, like the turbulence or something like that, it lags. So for that, we can use the polyhedral meshes. A polyhedral mesh means it has the five, uh, five surface, five edges. In the machines, we need to give some name for the selections for this edges. Like I give a wall one and wall two the for the upper and lower edges, and inlet as the at the extreme right side, the blue tick we are getting is the outlet. So in the ANSYS, it is important to give name selections. By that, the boundary conditions are automatically going to define. Means and when we go to the setup, we automatic. So because of the name we are giving inlet in the machine itself, it is automatically going to define in the setup. Yes, it is the inlet, and you need to give some boundary condition for it. So name should be give some appropriate. Software should recognize it. Then the setup. After the meshing is done, we can close this window and open the setup. It is the general window in the setup. Um, Here in the extreme left side, we can see the outline view, then the task page, console, and the we get the colors, contours, graphs, etc. And in the consoles, we get the actual numbers for that particular system. So in the solver, there are two types: pressure based and the density based. Uh, okay. Pressure based, what happens in the governing equation is that we see the minus kappa p by delta x terms, etc. We cannot define that pressure domains because we don't uh, cannot find those values easily for the pressure. So what software do is that uh, it do iteration process. So it gives the some initial guesses for the pressure, and that pressure, and because of the pressure, one momentum equation is created. That momentum equation is, by using that momentum equation, velocity values are found out, and those velocity bound values are added in the continuity equations. If the continuity equations get satisfied, then whatever pressure value is we choose is the accurate. If it is not accurate, then it goes to the next iterations. So by that solver is used. Then there is a density based. So So equations are converted into the density bonds, and the difference between the two base is that the density base takes longer times, because all the equations like X momentum equations, energy equations, continuity equations are solved simultaneously, while the pressure base equation it's solved in the continuous. Like first it solve continuity equation, then it goes to the X momentum equations, then it goes to the energy equations. Basically, in general, we can say the pressure base. One should note that the pressure base is used to the uh, incompressible flow, and density base is used to the high speed compressible flow. Then there is a tourist space which should use. Then the velocity formulations, it should be absolute or relative, and the time is it should be steady or transient. Our problem is the steady, so we are going to the steady. Then in the setup, there are models we need to choose. There is a multi-phase models, there are it like the bubbly flow. There is the air and also liquid. Then comes the energy model. In the energy models, here we are not dealing with the. Then the viscous model has the different kind of models like invisible, laminar, and after that laminar, whatever you are seeing, the models are for the turbulence flows like Spark, Almar, K epsilon, K omega. So what is happening in the turbulent flow? It can be solved by the Navier-Stokes equations, but it has the more number of unknowns numbers, like because the turbulence flow, because we define the turbulence flow by the two quantities. One is the turbulent flow is the highly unsteady. So those two quantities, one is the steady quantity and plus one is the fluctuating component and quantities component. And by adding that two component, uh, we are getting six number of unknowns. And to solve that six number of, it is difficult to solve those six number of unknowns, because the number of equations we are having is less than the number of unknowns. So some models, by using the some assumptions, some extra equations are created, uh, which are one equations, two equations model, extra equation, three equations, etc. And by that, the turbulence models are created. The most famous models are the K epsilon models and the Reynolds stress model. Then there is a we can do radiation model. Some heat exchanger operations also there. Then the discrete species, discrete phases, solidifications and meltings. Then the acoustics related to the sound velocity, etc. Then the structural models and the electrical potentials, uh, if there is electrical potential present or not. And uh, our our problems is only related to the laminar flow, 1T steady flow. So we choose the viscous as the laminar. Then we need to choose the material for the flow domain. So we double click on the materials. We get the two types of the material. We are dealing only with the fluid. So I want to choose the material as a water. So there is a you can see in the material options there is a fluent. In the fluid database you can get number of different kind of fluids and their properties. So for that, and then we comes to the, as I told you before, because of we give name inlet, outlet, valve 1, valve 2. So boundary conditions all you can see is that there is a type. We know what uh, we know the inlet velocity. So in that type, there are different types we can apply in the boundary conditions. Like if there is an exhaust fan is there, so what is the velocity of that exhaust? Then the pressure inlet, pressure outlet, then the mass flow inlet, mass flow outlet. So that kind of types we are getting into boundary conditions. I'm going to apply velocity inlet as the 1 meter per second. So in the task page in the inlet, when you double click, so this velocity inlet option is open, and I apply velocity magnitude as 1 meter per second. Then the models we select, by that the other options get open. If we if you select the energy model as the on, like we are going to give temperature at the walls or etc. or inlet temperature, so thermal options will going to pop up, and we can apply what the boundary conditions we knows. Also, I don't know the velocity at the outlets, but I know that the pressure at the outlet, which is going to be uh, atmospheric pressure. So I click the outlet in double click and outlet and apply the atmospheric pressure. Then the wall one and wall two are the stationary, so their type get the stationary boundary conditions. Then here is the solutions method. The first is the pressure velocity. Like I said, I choose the pressure based method. Pressure velocity I told you before, like that we find out the velocity by considering the pressure approximate value and putting the continuity equation. So basically what we are doing is that we are coupling the pressure and velocity, and to solve this kind of situation there are different schemes like simple scheme, simplex scheme, simpler scheme. Don't go with the name, it is not the simple, it is, it has a long form semi implicit method for pressure equation x as like that. And there is pressure discretization method, for the convection flow, what kind of we choose like second order point, then the pressure, etc. So no, so main purpose to understand the computational fluid dynamics is to choose the appropriate models. Sometimes we choose the different schemes, and we might not get the solution get converged. We might get unrealistic solutions or etc. can be happen. So one should know how, what is the advantage disadvantage of these schemes also. So by using some simple by using some schemes, we can get very less time to get the solution to get the solution converged. Then the monitors, uh, in the monitors, uh, we can monitor the criteria for the criteria for the solutions. Like there is a residual monitor in which I give absolute criteria, which is the 0.001. When the difference between the two iterations for the continuity equations is when it will become the 0.001, the solutions, the iteration process will automatically stop. So those kind of monitors we can apply. Then come the run calculations. So here I'm giving the before that we need to initialize the solutions. Like, so initialization option, we can initialize the solutions. As I told you before, the software works in the iteration process, so we need to give some initial case for the software. In the initialization options, we can I give velocity as 1 meter per second. So by it will take first initialization gauge as 1 meter per second, then it goes to the next iteration and so on. Then I double click in the run calculations. Here we can give the number of iterations. I give 1000 number of iterations. So whether its solution get converted or not, after the 1000, the process is going to the stop. So after pressing the run calculate options, here I'm getting the two output in the console, and also you can see in the in the console, I'm giving values for the continuity, x velocity, velocity, and the time per iterations. How much time required for the particular iterations. So we can see at the at 101 iteration, 101 iterations, we get the residual, which is equal to the 0.001. We can see that in the so graphic sections where is the continuity equations when it comes below the 1 e raised to minus 3, the solutions will automatically stop, calculation will get complete. Then the result. So in the result, this we are going to find out the first how velocity controls is going to see going to uh, display. So in the results, clicking, expanding the graphics options, and then the double clicking on the contour, we get the contour options. Uh, Here we get velocity. We can apply velocity, velocity magnitude, and just clicking save and displays, we get the velocity contour. As we are seeing at the two walls, we are getting the zero velocity or very less velocity, and then this velocity get increases and is moved towards the center of the pipe. Uh, then the XY plot, we can plot the XY graph for the solutions. So it is below the graphics, there are the plot options. By double clicking it, there is the option XY plot. So I am plotting the outlet profile of the velocity profile at the outlet, and we get the velocity magnitude, same as the contour uh, at the wall side, at the two extreme side, we get the zero velocity, and it goes to the center, we get the maximum velocity. Okay, and so it will take Dr. Robert sir is saying talk how long is it is going. It will take a little time. It is coming to the end. So here we getting, as I told you before, we're getting this profile. So we can add the symmetry. So we can take the geometry as the half, and we still can find the value. Then we need to find the wall flexes, which is the wall shear stress and the screen friction coefficient, which are generally going to happen in the wall. So these options we can find in the report section, and we can directly going to can compute the area weightage average for the wall shear stress and the screen friction coefficient. Then there was the last options, geometry, meshing, setup, solutions. Setup and solutions are the equal part of the fluent, and the last part was the geometry. In the result, we it is same as the setup. Just we can it is provided by the ANSYS cell. We can get some sophisticated results like you are seeing here. So, what are the applications of the CFRE? So there are basically on this earth, wherever you go, you need to interact with the flow. There might be air, there might be some kind of fluid. So every machine, everything interact with the flow. So CFD is like everywhere. So in the aerodynamics, one should understand the lift and drag on the airplanes, how it is going to happen, how turbulence models are going to work on the airplanes. So then there's the CFD. In the automotive industry, also lift and drag is the very important thing, and how it can be smoothly travel through the space. Then there is the turbo machinery operations like turbines, etc. Then the thermal power plants, nuclear power plants. Basically, most important is their cooling system, cooling towers. So there is the multiple simulations uh, need to be understand, and also how optimize and how maximum cooling we can get, it is important. Then there is a HVAC, like heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. Yes, it is important. In the manufacturing, in the casting process, how this melter is going to the go, going through the casting. It is to understand this CFR is important. In the marine engineering, how in the marine engineering, how uh, one marine ship is going to interact with the oceans. So how much buoyancy force can be up, how much buoyancy force is going to apply, and to understand this, there is a CFRE, electrical and electronic engineering. So there is a heating always happens in the electronic systems, like hit. So for that, to optimize those systems, and we get a very good cooling systems. Then the chemical process engineering, mixing of the two flow. There is a chemical interactions. Then the environmental engineering, we can find out that we can if the tornado is happening or any conditions, so we can predict by using the CFD. Then hydrology and oceanographic, how river going to flow. Then in ocean, the different kind of the currents, different kind of the tsunami, different kind of currents happening in the oceans, or the kind or the prediction of the tsunami can be done in the CFD. In the meteorology, we can predict the weather by understanding the different forces, different forces applying due to the air current. Then in the biomedical engineering, in the veins there is a blood is flowing in the heart, etc. So we can simulate those processes in the biomedical engineering. And also lastly, in the sports engineering, common example we can say is that the because when cricketer spins balls in the air itself, so it happens due to the Magnus effect. We can see that very largely in the football. It can spins or change the trajectory itself in the air. So, so understand these kind of effects. CFD is the most important. There are the some CFD there is a density, how density is different in the airplane, then in the how air is flowing in the lung, and then there is a one electronic circuit is there, and how temperature profile is generated. So in CFD simulations in the engine block. So where we can get the study materials for the CFD. First, if you are new to the and no, you should read the book Numerically Transparent by Subhash Patankar. It is a very little book, 190 pages, but it covers the basic information related to the computational fluid dynamics. If you want to go to the details, you can go to the an introduction to the computational fluid dynamics by H. Vasidis and W. Malal Sekra. Then best method is the NPTEL lectures uh, by IIT Kharagpur and also IIT Kanpur. There is one professor, Dr. Chakraborty. He's very great in the computational fluid dynamics, and you can get those lectures in the YouTube and also their online pages, etc. Then the Cornell University provides the some ANSYS tutorials. You can Google it, Cornell ANSYS Fluent, and you will get different kind of the tutorials for the ANSYS. So you can do you can do by itself. Also, EDX offers that Cornell University's one teacher teach about the CFD. Then you can go to the user guide. User guides are very huge. Like ANSYS Fluent has the pages of the 2500. So one should know what. So you go user guide. First, you need to know what you want to learn. So for one, if there is a one point, so at the time you can go user guide. Also, Skill Link offers some master program for the CFP. It is costly, but one can see that. Also, I can see the NPTEL lectures. NPTEL provide the certified course for the CFP. You need to find you need it is registration links opens at every year. Just to check it out when it is open. So thank you so much. That's for the CFP. And here is the link for the certifications. After the question answer sessions, you can go to these links and you can get the certificate with respect to email ID. So if there is the questions, you can ask. Is there any questions? Thank you, sir. Yadav, sir, for the feedback. Uh, any questions there? So I think there is no questions. So let's end the session. Thank you so much for attending these sessions, and also thank you so much for JJ Mugdum College of Engineering Issue chapter for uh, arranging such a great webinars. Thank you so much. So let's end webinar here. So, okay, so this link will be remain open for the 1 hour from this ending of the session. So for the certificate, you need so write down your feedback by going through this link. Thank you so much.